Hey guys, this is your learning assistant for Biology 1009. Today I'm here to talk about speciation. So what is speciation? Speciation is the formation of new distinct species in the course of evolution. It can be described in anagenesis and cladogenesis. Anagenesis involves evolution within a single lineage, while on the other hand, cladogenesis involves evolution in a branching pattern with many new species evolving from a single parent species. So as you can see here in the picture, anagenesis has just one straight line, and then cladogenesis has branching out lines, which means from one single parent species there are two new species forming, and then anagenesis there's just one straight line going, no branching out. So that's the most big difference between anagenesis and cladogenesis: branching out and no branching out. Different ways to describe species. Species, like I said, species can be described in various ways. First one is biological species concept. According to it, a species, according to this concept, a species is a group of populations whose members have the potential to interbreed in nature and produce viable further offspring. And under this concept, there are prezygotic barriers and postzygotic barriers, which are reproductive isolating mechanisms, which I'll talk about in the next slide. And there are three other concepts that we can talk about: morphological, ecological, and phylogenetic. Unlike biological species, which talks about species in terms of reproduction, morphological species concept talks about species in terms of features and body shape and other structural features. Ecological concept, ecological concept talks about defining species in terms of its ecological niche, and phylogenetic species concept talks about defines a species as the smallest group of individuals that share a common ancestor, forming one branch on the tree of life. And for biological species concept, there are two limitations that we can talk about. Which first one is asexual organisms such as bacteria, and second one is fossil. So those two things doesn't apply to biological species concept because we cannot talk about reproduction or anything related to reproduction of those two things. Like I said, there are reproductive isolating mechanisms. First one is prezygotic barriers. It is before the formation of zygote, which hinders fertilization from happening. There are 5 examples of prezygotic barriers. First one is habitat isolation, temporal isolation, mechanical, behavioral, and gametic. The next one is post-zygotic barriers, which is after the zygote forms, and which this one prevents zygote from developing into a viable fertile adult. So the examples are reduced hybrid viability, reduced hybrid fertility, and then hybrid breakdown. So I mean, the quick example of let's say for habitat isolation can be in India, lions and tigers live in the same area, but then those two animals had different environments. So like lions lived in let's say in a forest, but then tigers preferred living in an area close to the riverside. So those two things lived in the same area but two different environments. So they never had any hybrid of offsprings forming. So that's like a pretty good example of habitat isolation. Speciation with or without geographic separation, allopatric speciation, and sympatric speciation. So allopatric speciation is the gene flow. It's about let's put this diagram first. So allopatric, like it shows in the picture, is speciation with the geographic isolation. So gene flow is interrupted when a population is divided into geographically isolated subpopulations. While in sympatric speciation, this is absolutely opposite of allopatric speciation. So sympatric speciation is the process through which new species evolve from a single ancestral species while inhabiting the same geographic region. So listing allopatric due to the geographic isolation. They live in a different place, but for sympatric speciation, this formation of new species happens in the same area. And sympatric speciation occurs with could be occurring with polyploidy, habitat differentiation, and sexual selection. So yeah, so far this is what I have for speciation chapter.